This is Melanie,
Hi, this is Sarah.
and our topic is
Is
about
school
school safety.
safety.
School safety is a pretty broad topic and is generally defined as school and school-related activities where students are safe from violence, bullying, harassment, and substance use. Why school safety matters? Well, many research studies have associated school safety with enhancing students' classroom engagement, academic success, and overall well-being. This is a little obvious. If the students feel safe at school and have no fear of being attacked or bullied, they won't have anything to worry about. They can simply focus on academics and making friends, which in turn positively impacts both individual performance and the overall school environment. What are the different forms of school violence? There are numerous forms of school violence. The first one is physical violence, and you see this when students physically attack one another. There is psychological violence, such as verbal abuse. Sexual violence, often in the form of sexual harassment, can also occur. Bullying is the most prevalent type of violence and takes many forms. Bullying can be physical, social, verbal, or take place online. Bringing weapons such as guns or knives to school is also a form of violence, especially if they are used to threaten or inflict pain or injury. Teachers and school staff aren't exempt from school violence. There have been numerous instances where students have attacked their teachers. What are some of the negative effects of lack of school safety? Some of the known negative effects resulting from a lack of school safety include student depression and anxiety, which in extreme cases could actually lead to suicide. Other effects include attention problems, social withdrawal, and school avoidance. All these things reduce students' motivation to engage in learning, which not only impacts them as individuals, but also impacts the school's test scores, graduation rates, attendance record, reading achievement, etc.
So the first thing I'll discuss is a little bit more about the school environment and keeping it safe. So first let's discuss the physical space. So in making sure that a school is safe, place not only for students but also all the staff and school personnel, but it's making sure that the school buildings, classrooms, restrooms, any physical area or space where people will be, making sure that it's regularly maintained, working condition, and that it's inspected on a regular basis to make sure that there's no damage or anything going wrong. The second part is strategic safety, which deals more with the safety plans and protocols that in the event of some kind of big natural disaster or some kind of violent threat to the school, that there are procedures that not only do students know, that staff is well trained in to making sure that they can get everyone out to safety in time. So in order to make sure that it stays safe, they need to be doing drills and practicing them regularly. Everyone needs to be trained on where to go and what to do in any kind of situation. And also maintaining an internal safety. There needs to be rules and expectations that all staff personnel as well as students need to follow. So what are the school rules? How do they use the play equipment? How do they treat each other in the classroom? How do they treat each other when they're out on the playground with each other? Making sure that the rules are practiced and reinforced. Next thing is making sure you have a safe school climate. And school climate refers to, it's kind of like the school morale, the quality and character of school life for students, parents, staff, their norms, beliefs, the relationships in teaching and learning, the practices, all of that encompasses what school climate is. So making sure that when students arrive that they feel safe, they feel connected. Connection to the school can really lower the attitudes and negativity of students' beliefs if they feel connected from their peers, their teachers, and staff. It really just makes it a positive learning environment. Another big part of that is parent involvement and having weekly communication. If there's teachers taking time to reach out to parents and parents really communicating back with those teachers, knowing what's going on in the classroom, what's going on with school and learning, it makes a big impact on the school climate and how their students feel. Another thing that can really affect school climate is engaging lessons. If kids are bored or stressed, it's going to create a negative school environment, but if they're being engaged in learning about things that really apply to them and there's real application and they're really curious about the learning and there's opportunities to explore and it's interesting and it's fun, then it will create part of a positive school climate. And last but not least, dealing with the internal threats such as bullying. That's a really big issue on a lot of school campuses. It seems to be the number one problem of school safety. So making sure that there's prevention programs, that students are trained and taught that if there is bullying going on, how to handle it and not just be a bystander, but be proactive in making sure that that is not a problem. So some other major concerns regarding school safety based on some research was negligent supervision. So basically when staff is present, when students are either on the playground in the classroom, not really being active in watching their behavior and what they're doing, that can cause a lot of problems, especially a lot of unwanted behavior, and a lot of that can be minimized if there's better supervision and teachers are actually watching what the students are doing. So it's not enough for teachers to just be present, but they need to make sure that kids are following the rules, that they're using play equipment the right way, that they're maintaining safety in the classroom to really prevent any unwanted behaviors from going on. And also preventive measures, setting boundaries and going over the rules and guidelines pretty regularly. Not making assumptions that even though students have heard the rules or should know the guidelines, but making sure that before each activity and before going out to the playground again, or even during assembly, that students are reminded of how they should behave. So I had the privilege of doing an interview with a principal at an elementary school, and I chose her because as someone who's in charge of a whole school, their responsibility, one of their biggest responsibilities is really making sure that the students are safe at their school. So I thought there's no one better to interview about school safety than someone who that's like their main job and priority at a school. So some of the questions I asked her was key elements of school safety, and she said the biggest thing was just having a plan. Not only making sure that all staff are trained in all the plans and drills, but making sure all the students are well aware of the drills and protocols for each different type of event that could go down, whether it's a fire drill or earthquake or even an active shooter, sad to say, but just being prepared to deal with any of those situations and for everyone to be on the same page as far as what to do, where to go, and how to act during those situations. I also asked her about biggest concern just in general, and we were more focusing on the internal aspects of safety at the school, and she said discipline, that was such a hard thing, and just making sure that students are getting along with each other and being respectful and maintaining the school rules of how to treat one each other and sharing the space with each other, that's often one of the biggest things that causes issues when it comes to school safety. And then I specifically asked, well, how do you create this school environment that's positive and uplifting where everyone would be respectful and get along? And a lot of that came from some training that they did, and one of the things they developed was called the ROAR. It's like their mission statement, kind of like the overall expectation for how the school is, and it kind of goes with their school mascot, but basically it stands for being respectful, organized, always safe, and responsible. And with this, they created a lot of posters of behavior in every situation, whether it's the library, the classroom, out on the playground, if it's talking with staff. How do they be respectful? How are they showing that they're organized? How are they being safe? And also how they're being responsible. So three times throughout the year, in addition to reviewing the ROAR statement, they also go over all the rules and expectations in the handbook, and that's something that the principal does. She has special assemblies with the students and just discuss being respectful or discusses being organized, and then also goes over all the school rules and handbook that was not only signed by students but also parents as well. So in addition to having those trainings and those assemblies, she makes sure that the staff is on the same page as well. So staff attends professional development to make sure that those expectations are being upheld in order to support the students. And the recent training that they went to was called Capturing Kids' Hearts, and through that each classroom developed a social contract. And in that, it was kind of interesting. She was saying that as the principal, she developed a social contract with her staff as well. How do you want me to be with you when we're doing, staff trainings and meetings? Like, what are your expectations of me as a principal, and vice versa, what are my expectations of you as a staff member? And then it also trickles down from teacher and student. What are the expectations that students have of their teachers? Because it's a two-way street of keeping the whole school safe. It's not just one way where students are supposed to get along with each other, but teachers and students are supposed to get along, and teacher and principal need to get along and be respectful and be safe with one another in order to make sure that the whole school is creating a positive school environment. And then I lastly asked about any major differences while working in education, whether there are any trends when it comes to school safety, anything that she's seen that's changed in her whole time together. And she said the biggest difference would be a lot of students in crisis. And I said, well, what does that look like? And she said there just seems to be a lot more students who are needy, less parental support, and just are at risk, and that just brings a lot more to the safety factor. And just overall, based on our entire conversation, she said at the end of the day, one of the biggest things is just the students want to know that you care about them. They want to make sure that that someone is looking out on their behalf. So when they feel like they're cared about, when they feel that you're trying to provide for their needs, that they've been heard, then it makes them feel safer, and that's a big part of school safety.
Here's our references. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!